Jester, level 8 upgrade. And there they are, Traxxas Steel CVDs for the Mini E-Revo. These were donated to me by RC Guys 100. Thank you very much, Vincent. This is a huge donation. I really do appreciate it. But anyways, this upgrade, goes without saying, is probably one of the must-haves for the Mini E-Revo because, well, the drive shafts on there, the plastic ones, tend to strip. So a lot of people love to get these. However, when they buy them, they find out that there's more steps to it than you would think, and you'll understand soon enough. But enough talk, let's go ahead and open these up and check them out. Just go ahead and start on the corner. Put this down. Ta-da! And of course, we have the instructions, which a lot of people complain about because they're not very descriptive. We have the washers. These go on the end of the drive shafts. I am going to hold on to these because I know that the ones that are on the drive shafts are eventually going to wear out. Now we got some more of that high quality foam Traxxas is famous for. I won't lie, guys, these are pretty darn nice. Ooh-wee. Can't wait to see it on Jester. His theme is black and white, and silver works just as well as white, so yes, this is definitely going to help out. Well, I guess it's time to go ahead and install these. So first step is I'm going to remove all 4 tires as well as the body. All the wheels have been removed as well as the body, and before I do any steps, I want to go ahead and explain why a lot of people hate installing these. Here is the cup that the top of the drive shaft fits into, just like that. If you'll notice, it has a very interesting structure to it. So for the stock drive shafts, the top is held onto the diff gear using a grub screw. So this just slides in, slide that grub screw in, and ta-da, you're done. Well, you can't do that with this. In order to install these, you have to take apart the whole front and rear, get to the diff gear, take the diff gear apart, and then install these into the diff. That is a long process, guys, so you can really understand why a lot of people just hate installing these. So let's go ahead and get this over with, and I'll start with the front. I'll remove the front body mount, which is held in with 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. I'll also remove the front skid plate, which is held in with 5 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the front body mount's taken care of, the front skid plate's taken care of. Now I'm going to be removing one of these screws from the servo saver. I don't need to disconnect it all the way, just need to remove one of these. Move that off to the side, flip it back over, and now I have to remove the 2 top screws that hold in the top part of the shock. Once I pull that off, the shock brace comes off. I'm going to move the shocks to the front. I need to take off these 2 screws as well as this one right in front. Okay. Now with all those screws off, I can just pull out the front diff housing. Now there is the diff gear, but I can't get to it. First of all, I have to pull this plate off. Thankfully, I pulled that screw off already. Now I'm going to flip it around. And yeah, that's the other issue you have to worry about, is these little bars that hold in the arms can easily slide out. In fact, it's not a bad idea just to pull them out and set them off to the side. But anyways, I'm going to be focusing on the drive shafts. You'll see that they're held on to the diff gear with a single grub screw. So I'm going to be removing both of them from each side. Alright, drive shafts have been removed. Might as well go ahead and pull off the tops. Set those to the side. Now, might as well go ahead and pull out both of these pins. One of them you have to pull out for sure because you need to reach the screw on the side. The other one, I'm just doing for right now for convenience. Like I said, nothing's really holding them in because the body mount and skid plate hold it together, but with those not in the equation, all this can easily slide apart. So I'm going to remove that screw, set that to the side, and finally I can pull apart the diff housing, just like that. The turnbuckle is going to keep, or the turnbuckles are going to keep everything together. This would be the pinion gear that sets across and on top of the diff gear, and this is the diff gear itself. That is what we need to work on now. This is held together with only 3 screws, right on this side. And of course, I need to take all 3 of those out. Okay, so all the 3 screws have been taken care of, and I'm just gonna not cut away, so I might mess up a couple of things with my speech. I'm gonna pull out all 3 screws, then the cap can come off. Well, not easily. Oh, well, this side wants to come off first. Okay, so we'll work on that side first. Now, we need to pull off this gear, just like that. You'll see there's a little metal bar. Oh gosh, I really hate diff fluid, or diff oil. It's really thick and it's a pain to deal with. But we're going to slide that out, and this is a bar that we're going to be replacing with this. So we're going to slide the new one in, just like that. Slide the bar back into position, and then lay this gear on top. And obviously this gear has a little slot on the back for that bar to fit into. Now it's time for the other side, which is easier said than done. Let's go ahead and pull that. There we go. And it's identical to the other side, but still I should go ahead and show it with one full diff gear non-stop. Move that bar out, move that to the side. Sticky. Slide this back in. Well, slide it in for the first time. Put the bar back. Come on, come on, come on. Of course it's going to be all big pain. Slide this gear back on. And this gear is done with. There we go. Now I got to make sure that all these blue seals lay completely flat. When you put the diff gear back together, and there's a couple of things you should be very wary about. First of all, you cannot tighten it too much, otherwise the gears inside could grind and it will not run very smoothly. Second of all, make sure that these seals, like I said, lay flat. You don't want them messed up. And you got to line up all the holes where the screws go through. There. That wasn't too bad. Now I'm just going to go ahead, slide the screws back in, and we can start putting things back together. There we go. Go ahead and move each side, make sure everything's nice and smooth. And we are done with the gear. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put some silicone oil on the inside of these teeth. Alright, and that should be enough. Also, if you shimmed your diff gear, don't worry, the shim can fit right over the cup. So you don't have to worry about that. Now I just got to put everything back together. This is small enough to slide through the hole. Push that down all the way. Now I need to get the pinion gear, lay that on top, and now I can go ahead and put all the housing back together. So slide that through the hole, and for the top I have to make sure that arm goes back into the proper position. Put it all together. Now I can reattach this screw right here, which holds the housings together. And I can put on the front plate as well as the screw that holds it on there. And now I'm done with the front diff housing. Now I'm going to move on to installing the drive shaft. So I'm going to remove the hex hub by getting a flat screwdriver and just putting it in between the hub and the axle carrier and twisting it. Pops right off. There is a small little bar that I need to pull out. Then the bottom of the drive shaft can just slide on out. Get the new steel one, slide that one in, put the bar back on, make sure it's even on each side, and then snap this hex hub back on. That's it. Now it's the same exact thing for the other side. Okay, both drive shafts are in, so now before I reinstall the pins that hold in the arms, I'm going to be sliding the dry shaft into the cup, just like that, and then sliding the top of the arm into position and putting the bar back in place. Now remember guys, the bars can easily come back out, so just be careful about that. And same thing goes for the bottom, except it's held in with 2 little bars instead of 1 big one. And the same thing is going to happen for the other side. Okay, and everything is back together. You just got to remember to slide those dry shafts into the cups before you put the arms back on. Now for... I hate doing this. As you can see, this would be the top of the center drive line. And I'm going to go ahead and line this up vertically, that line that's on the end, as well as the one that's underneath here. There we go. And then after that, just going to slide this part of the chassis in between the rockers and then move it around until the drive shafts go together. Alright, once that slides all the way back in, I'm going to reattach this arm back to the servo saver and reinstall the 2 screws that hold the diff housing to the chassis. Okay, with those screws back in place, you don't have to worry about the front sliding out. Now, in order to install the front skid plate, just make sure all these bars are pushed in. So I'm going to be installing that, reinstalling the top shock brace, and putting on the front body mount. The front body mount, these pins need to be pushed in all the way. And the front is done with. Now there's a few steps I just kind of blazed through when getting to the diff gear. It's because the upgrade before this, I shimmed the diffs and I showed every single step in detail, and I just didn't want to get into that much detail again. So if you want to see how to get to the diffs in better detail, just go ahead and check out the upgrade before this. Now it's time for the rear. I'm going to remove the rear body mount, which is held in with 5 screws. These 3 on top and these 2 in back. I'm also going to be removing the rear skid plate, which is held in with 4 screws. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead and slide this plate off. And yeah, once again, be careful about these little pins falling out. And then I'm going to remove these 2 screws that hold in the top of the shocks. Go and flip the shocks back, and I'm going to be taking out these 2 screws. With those taken care of, I'm going to flip it back around and remove these 2 screws, and then finally this will be able to slide out. Now, unlike the front, this one has these 2 little bumps, and it makes it a little bit harder to pull it off from the chassis. But once it's off, I'm going to go ahead and remove the screw that holds it together. The screw that holds it together is right there. Once this is out, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the drive shafts from the diff gear by removing the grub screw that holds it on to the diff. Pull that out, set it to the side, and now on to the drive shafts. And then just go ahead and slide the tops off, set those to the side, and I can pull apart the housing. Ta-da! And I made it to the diff gear. Now, go ahead and pull the diff out, set the pinion off to the side, and it's exactly like the front, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip this part and come back when it's installed. And the rear is done with, so now I'm going to go ahead and slide this back into the diff housing, push it down all the way, get the center drive shaft and pinion gear, put that back in place, and then just slide it all back together. And just like the front, I'm going to be reinstalling that screw that holds it together, which goes in right there, and reattaching the new drive shafts and then putting all the pins in. And the rear is done with. The drive shafts are in and it's ready to be reattached to the chassis. And just like with the front, there's a line that goes across the front of the drive shaft. I'm just going to line that up with the one that's in there and then slide this back into place. Now that that's back in, I'm going to reattach these 2 screws, reattaching the rear skid plate, and reattaching the top of the shocks back to the chassis. And the last step is just reattaching the rear body mount. I just got to make sure that I slide in the rear tie rods into their position and then reattach all 5 screws. Here's before. And here is after. It's actually a pretty big difference. Stock drive shafts are so thick, these are just small little bars in comparison. Either way, this upgrade is finally done with. And there's one last thing I should go ahead and mention. These are steel, not stainless steel, so they will rust, which pretty much means that the Mini is no longer waterproof. And if it is going to be ran through water, I have to clean it immediately and get some metal cleaner and protect it on there. So yeah, I guess it's a small price to pay for not having any more broken plastic drive shafts. And that was Jester's level 8 upgrade.